What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of No Mercy with yours truly, Stephen A. Smith, coming at you at the very least every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Anywhere you can find your podcast, you'll find No Mercy with Stephen A. Smith. We're here in the studio, in my studio, thanks to our official studio sponsor, FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is the official sports betting company of the No Mercy podcast. Usually, I've got a monologue for you, some opinion that I want to express, some thoughts that I want to convey to you to lead in to an even deeper discussion about things. Not today. My guest today is going to be four-time champion for the reigning defending NBA champion Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green. He's been through a lot this year. We know what happened with him. We know about the fight with Jordan Poole, which really was not much of a fight. We understand the ripple effect that it's had on the franchise, the potential effect it may have on his career, how he's thought of, how he's looked upon, what his future may hold. These are all questions that come up, provoked by Draymond Green's actions. We've heard a lot of people comment about it. We've heard him try to comment on it to some degree. What we really haven't heard is him sitting in front of me, answering some questions that I may have. And more importantly, what answers he may be willing to give extensively, uninterrupted. I thought at the very least, since I know him, got a lot of love for him, a lot of respect for him. He knew his actions were indefensible. But I thought it would be great for this audience to hear from him directly. Listen up, listen in, as I talk to the four-time champion Draymond Green himself. The first of two parts, two podcasts dedicated to this interview. Yours truly, Stephen A. Smith, with Draymond Green. Here it is. My next guest might have the highest basketball IQ of all time. The Warriors' emotional leader is exceptional on both ends of the floor, achieving his success with some seriously high-level decision-making since he was drafted in the second round of the 2012 NBA draft. He is a four-time champion. He's been named to the All-NBA team twice. He is a former Defensive Player of the Year and widely considered to be one of the best all-around players in the league. And by the way, he can get emotional too. You know what I'm saying? He can get emotional. He knows that. I'm talking about the one and only Draymond Green for the Golden State Warriors. What's up, big time? How is it, man? How you doing?
I am amazing, brother. I thank you for having me on the show. I got one thing to brag about while we get started. For everybody out there listening that's a fan of the podcast, I am too. I am a subscriber as well. I knew about this podcast before you. And I'm excited about
that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Listen, man. Listen. How do you feel? How do you feel about the way the basketball season has gone thus far for the Golden State Warriors? Put it into perspective.
It's been a roller coaster, honestly. Starting with camp and camp being great, and then camp going south, and then coming into the season and not really getting off to a great start. I think we started off maybe 3-7 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, feeling like we're finding a rhythm and think we're turning the corner and, take 2 steps forward and then take 3 steps back and, then get guys going in and out of the lineup. We catch a run and then kind of let it go. And here we are. We have a great one last night. So, I mean, it's been a roller coaster, but you try to stay as even as possible, but it's tough sometimes.
It's one thing to be professional. It's another thing to be confident in what you do professionally. Collectively as a team right now, with the roller coaster ride that y'all have been on, how confident are y'all that y'all can get it together in time to ward off some of these thoroughbreds that are coming your way? It's Memphis. Denver looks like a complete team. New Orleans is on the come up. We get all of that. We see the veterans with LeBron in L.A. and Kawhi and with the Clippers hoping he'll play. Luka is a big-time baller. We all know that. Mm-hmm. But Denver, Memphis, and New Orleans has really been standing out in a lot of people's mind. I can't forget to give your former assistant, Mike Brown, some love with what they're doing in Sacramento with the Kings. At the time of the taping of this podcast, they were a 4th seed in the Western Conference. How confident are y'all that y'all gonna be able to get this ship righted in the right direction so y'all can defend your crown?
Very confident. We're very confident because ultimately we know what it takes. And, those teams all those teams that you just mentioned, Memphis, Dallas, New Orleans, Denver, Sacramento, they're having incredible seasons. And, you got to tip your hat to those guys. Joker's playing at the MVP level that we've grown accustomed to. Ja, as you say, is box office. Luka, the same thing,
Right.
and the reality is you got to Zion and CJ and those guys, you got to you got to pay attention to those guys and understand what they got going. But I think for us personally, we know that it's more about us than it is about them. If we can do and get to the level that we know is necessary to win championships, get to having the cohesiveness that we know it takes to win a championship, locked in on a night in, night out basis, and committed to the process of getting better. See, I think so many times people get it confused on a season is not going to have its bumps. We had a ton of bumps last year. We lost 9 out of 11 at one point. And so seasons have these bumps. The way I look at it is this, and be that I am one of the leaders of this team, it's my job to make sure that my teammates look at it this way as well. We're 21-21.
Mm-hmm.
We're having probably the worst season that anyone would have imagined us having up until this point. We're 8 games out of first place.
Mm-hmm.
We're in 6th place, and all is going wrong. All has gone wrong. We've lost Steph. We've lost Wiggins. We've lost Jermichael. We've lost Wiseman, Kuminga, like you name it. Guys have been in and out of the lineup, and we're 21-21 sitting in 6th place. Get everything together that we know we need to get together, our offense, our defense, myself as a leader, and making sure our team is tight as it needs to be. And we control our own destiny. And when I say we control our own destiny, I mean that from the standpoint of if we play great, we win. If we get to the level that we know we need to be at in order to compete for a championship, I don't think anyone is beating us. And with those teams that you mentioned, the one thing we have on them is we've been there. We know what it takes.
But I'm wondering what level of, I hear you talking, but y'all are reigning defending NBA champions. I don't like the fact that y'all lost Gary Payton II. I know you don't. I saw the affection you gave him when he came back to town and you gave him that championship ring. Otto Porter and what he contributed to the team. Now, Jermichael Green is no scrub. He can play. I like Dante DiVincenzo. I like him a lot. I always have. But in the same breath, when I look at this team last year, I expected Kuminga, Wiseman, and Moody to be better, and I was anticipating that Gary Payton wouldn't go anywhere at the very least, but that didn't happen. Are you sure that this is like the same team? The core's the same, but those guys made a huge contribution last year.
To most people, I could say back, yeah, but you didn't believe that last year when we had Gary Payton at this point and when we had Otto Porter. You're different. You are the one person that said this team is going to win a championship. If they get Klay Thompson back healthy, this team is going to West Conference Final. No, they're going to the NBA Finals and they're going to win a championship. You said that, so I can't necessarily say that to you. But here's what I will say.
Right.
Absolutely hate it and still hate it that GP is not here and to see him go. Number one, you build a relationship with guys, and the relationship that we've been able to build, you hate to see that kind of separated because, in the NBA, everybody's living their own lives. And yes, you stay in touch and all of that, but it's nothing like being together on a day-to-day basis. And so just the relationship that we built. And then what Gary brought to our team. See, everyone will say, well, what he did on the defensive end, and which was absolutely amazing. Probably should have been on an all-defensive team last year. But what he did on the defensive end, we all know. But what he did and brought on the offensive end, I think people don't understand as well. And that's this. I always tell people, having a lob threat gives you the same spacing as someone that's spaced out shooting. When you have a really good lob threat, that it's no different than if you got, now take this with a grain of salt. He's the best in the world at this, so take it with a grain of salt. But Klay Thompson, if you got Klay Thompson
Right.
spotted up on the wing, having a great lob threat is as dangerous as that if you have the right
Mm.
people making the play with the lob threat. And so having
Right.
Gary Payton as a lob threat cutting out of the corner, or GP will go stand in the dunker like he's 7 feet and you toss him a lob, he jump vertical and get it. People don't understand how hard that is, how athletic you have to be to do that. And so GP's random cutting, all of those things, what that also brought to our offense, I don't think people understood the value of that as well. Now, let's talk about Otto Porter. Otto Porter is one of the best rebounders I've ever played with in this league. People don't realize that. And so you see, like, we've struggled more rebounding the basketball. That's no knock to anyone on our team. But Otto Porter was a great rebound. Otto Porter played minutes. He was going to have 7 or 8 rebounds if he played over 20 minutes. And it's, some people they can box out. They don't know how to get the ball. Some people just go after the ball, but they're not great boxing out. Otto Porter was great boxing out. He'd go up in traffic and get rebounds. And then obviously we know he's a sniper. And so the way he shot the ball, he get this mid-range pull-up. You can run offense through Otto and get good shots. That's the same guy that signed for $100 million in Washington, then started going through the injuries. What he brought to that team, right. what he brought to this team, it was very important. Nemanja Bjelica, what he brought from a chemistry standpoint as well as spacing the floor the way he did was dangerous. Juan Toscano-Anderson, the physicality that he brought to the game, the defense, locking guys up. Damian Lee, always being ready. The guy went out of the lineup, D-League number call. You see last night he had 31 points with all of their guys out of the lineup in Phoenix. We lost a lot. And those guys were huge, and I mean absolutely huge to what we were able to accomplish. Now, in saying all of that, Dante DiVincenzo is having an incredible year. I'm upset that we're having the year that we haven't because he's not getting the notoriety that he deserves for what he's doing coming off the bench. He's having a great year, and he's fit in like the missing piece to a puzzle. JaMychal Green, he's been last month been out with injury, as you just felt like he was starting to find his rotation. Early on, trying to get the rotations together, and he just didn't look as great as we've grown to know him to look because the rotations are off. That's an early season thing, and when you're not one of the top 5 guys on the team, you sometimes deal with those things. But he was just starting to get his footing, and then the injury happened. James Wiseman, when he came back up the Brooklyn game from the G League, you could see improvement. You could see his defensive coverages, he had gotten better. He was starting to turn in the right direction, goes down with an injury. Kuminga, you saw what Kuminga was doing before he just went out. He's hounding everybody best guard, changing games with his defense, and he goes down and get injured. So those setbacks for younger guys, when you have those setbacks for those guys, it's like it's not like them taking 1 or 2 steps back as if like you had a setback with Steph or, when I was out last year. We're so accustomed to the NBA game, we can make that adjustment fast. But for those guys, You're still adjusting to the speed. Then you're coming back from injury. You're a step slow because you're coming back. It's harder to adjust. And so those have been unfortunate things. And I think, the guys are starting to turn the corner. But, in saying that, everyone got to step it up. It's not just those guys I talked about. It's myself as well.
Here's what I know about you. I mean, obviously, if you talk to anybody within the Warriors organization, they talk about sometimes you in the war room, sometimes you showing up there and you a part of the mix. You're helping them make decisions because you know your basketball. You're considered a basketball savant. I don't think people realize how brilliant you are about the game of basketball. So what you just explained and what you just articulate, as thorough as you did, I know you didn't just tell me that. I know you told them that. Well, why the hell did they listen to you? Why didn't they listen to you? Because I know you told them.
If I'm being honest with you, I shared all of my thoughts. And, when you're in a luxury tax situation like we're in, those thoughts are sometimes heard, they're sometimes not. And you have to make decisions for, for other reasons. I and I'm not the one writing the check. It's Joe Lacob and Peter Guber and their
Yep.
ownership group writing the checks. And so, as much as I want to say, Joe, let's keep those guys. Let's do whatever we have to keep those guys. I'm also not writing me a $25 million check that's costing $65 million because of our luxury tax situation. And so
Right.
I understand that. And I think in order to have a voice in the organization like I've had over these years, is they have to trust and know that you understand that as well. It can't just be, oh, I'm running up and down the basketball court. I don't know nothing about the business, but I'm coming to share my advice with you on what the makeup of this team should be. And I also understand that you lose trust that way by doing that. And so as much as, you're like, hey, this guy's important for this reason, this guy's important for that reason. If it comes down to, but here's the luxury tax situation, and to pay Gary Payton his $9 million that he made is going to cost us $40 million, I can't tell Joe Lake. I can't sit there and look him in his face and say, yeah, but you got to write this check for us to win. No, it's on me to take whatever happens and go out there on the court and figure it out. So for that, we're 21-21. Not great, not awful, but I, as a leader, Steph Curry as a leader, Klay Thompson as a leader, Andrew Wiggins, Kevon Looney, we got work to do, and that's what it boils down to. But we have a good enough cast that we keep bringing them guys around, and we step our play up a little bit more. We got a good enough cast to do it again.
No question about it. Draymond Green, and I love what you articulated, and you talk about your leadership capabilities, being a leader, being the leader that you've been, and helping lead this team to 4 championships over the last 8 years. This year, I'm making an assertion here. I'm making an assumption. Had to have been your most difficult year in the NBA, in light of, on a personal level, what went on with you and Jordan Poole, what happened before this season began. Talk to us about that. I know you've spoken about it many times, but I don't want to ask a specific question more than I want to ask what was going on with you at that particular moment in time in your head, and how did that happen? Talk to us and tell my listeners, my viewers, what you may not have told anybody else, what you may not have decided to talk about. Talk about it now. What was going on?
When I talk about this, as you know, I'm not one that's afraid to speak on anything. I'm always going to speak. I'm never going to hide from anything. If it's something I do wrong, I'll be the first to step up and talk, because I don't need anyone to speak for me, say what they think I may have been thinking or what I may have. No, I'll when it's good, you stand there and you take the applause and you say, man, this is great. When it's bad, you got to stand even further ahead. You can't run and hide when it's. And so this topic, it's not that I don't get tired of talking about it, because it's a mistake that I made, and I have to stand on that and live with it. And I'm willing to do that. I'm always willing to face the music. I am very cautious when speaking about this topic, because I affected someone else. And it's not up to me when that person may be ready to speak about it. It's not up to me when that person is really ready to hear about it in the grand scheme of things. It's all, and so I have to be sensitive to that. And I understand that when you make a mistake by someone else, you have to be sensitive to how they feel about the situation. So I always try to be very careful when I'm speaking about it, but yet do it in a way where I'm not shying away from it either, as if it wasn't a mistake that I made and it's just no comment. No, it's not that. It'll never be that, because no comment is a comment. And so what I will say is this. There are times where you enter that basketball gym and it's a sanctuary for a lot of us. It's you walk on that court and you lose yourself in the game. You lose yourself. And for those, that hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours in the game, 3 hours, you lose yourself in the game, and everything else going around that, you don't even think about. For those 3 hours or whatever, even when I was younger, I would go to the gym and when I'm going through something, I would just shoot. Go late at night and just shoot because I could lose
Right.
myself for that hour and a half in that
Mhm.
game or in that workout or whatever it is in basketball. I could just lose myself. There are times when you step on that court and you can't shake what's got you. You can't shake
Mhm.
the feeling. You can't shake the stranglehold, whatever it is that you're going through got on your brain. Like you can't shake those emotions. There are times where taking the court just don't do that. And for me personally, that day, that week, really those first 3 weeks, I
Right.
was dealing with something in my life so heavy that means so much to me, and I don't want to share exactly what that is um, because it involves people around me that I don't like to make subject to public opinion, and so um,
Mhm.
I don't want to go into the specifics of what that thing was, but it's something so excuse me so heavy. It's something that
Yeah.
I care about so dearly.
Mhm.
That day I was not able to lose myself in that practice. And so because I was not able to lose myself in that practice, everything that was going on in camp, you know, up until that point, then that moment, I'm already on 10, right? I'm already riled up, I'm amped up, I'm on 10. And so when the moment happens with us, I'm already there. I'm already like just there. Like I'm pissed off. I'm I'm salty, I'm hurt, I'm bothered, I'm like frustrated. I'm already
Yeah.
there. And so then when that moment happens, like in that moment,
Yeah.
Stephen A. When growing up, I was always taught you don't push anybody because if you push someone, they're going to hit you. They're not going to push you back. And so if you push someone,
Right.
you better be ready to get hit or you better put your hands up because they're going to hit you. Like push means, and so
Mm.
in that moment, it wasn't about Draymond Green, the NBA player. It wasn't about, this is my job. I'm a role model. My children are going to see this, any of that. It was just in that
Mhm.
moment, I'm already on 10, and I reverted back to Draymond Green growing up in Saginaw, Michigan, without no regards to anything around me, any situation around me, my environment. That's my teammate. I reverted back to what I knew since growing up because I wasn't thinking in that moment. In that
Mhm.
moment, I was just living right in that moment. I was fed up, and I reacted like I would have reacted when I was 13 years old. And
Mhm.
so, yes, I was always taught you put your hands on somebody, you better be ready to fight. Yes, I was always taught, certain things said as a man you can't respect all of that. But I'm not Draymond Green that's growing up in Saginaw, Michigan anymore.
Right.
I made it out of Saginaw, Michigan. And you can't react to things the same way that you're going to react to something as Draymond Green at 32 years old, playing for the Golden State Warriors, that's accomplished all these things, that's a role model to many children, like that has my own children that I'm a role model to, most importantly. Like, and in that moment, I didn't think of any of that selfishly. I didn't think of
Mhm.
any of that. In that moment, I'm just
Yeah.
living right in that moment. What happens, happens. And it was the biggest fuck up that I've ever made in my life. And to make matters worse, I think one of my worst moments that I've ever had in life was then share it with the world. And
Mm.
that made it even tougher, a lot tougher.
when the world saw the video, when the world got a hold of the video and saw what had happened. And when I saw the video, I mean, people were saying you hit him, and I said he looked like he knocked him out. It looked like the only thing that held Jordan Poole up was the fact that Draymond fell into him, and it was definitely a vicious blow. What was your relationship like with Jordan Poole before that?
First, when I hit him, I'm like, oh, and I grabbed him.
Oh,
I'm like, whoa.
wow.
I grabbed him.
Yeah. That quickly.
Like, whoa.
That quickly.
Absolutely. Like, whoa. I grabbed him. And like I said, one of the worst mistakes probably the worst mistake I've ever made in my life. But we make mistakes. And so to say in the moment, this one may feel worse than that one at the time, that one felt way worse than anything you go through, right? So, but that was a bad moment for me. Our relationship before that, when Jordan came to the Warriors, he put his locker next to mine because he wanted to learn from me. From the time he showed up in San Francisco, I'm working out with my trainer, Travis Walton. He comes to work out with us. Time after time after time again. Immediately, the first thing we noticed, this kid works his ass off. Kid works. And I mean works. First thing we notice. So you immediately gain respect because you have a work ethic. You got to respect somebody with work ethic, man. Immediately you gain our respect because you showing up and you working. Like, Stephen A., I've had NBA players come to my workouts and like throw up. Like, just a regular on basketball court workout, hour, 10, 15 minutes, come and throw up. I still work out like I'm in college. I still run like I'm in college. The same, like, right. I work out still like a college kid. Like, that's how I get in shape. Right. That's what I'm used to.
People miss that. People miss that about you. They don't realize, like, take away the basketball skill, the LeBrons of the world and others. I marvel at the conditioning because you get all up and down, up and down, up and down the court. Everybody can't do that. To me, the greatest weapon about Steph Curry is his movement without the basketball. He's never standing still. So I get where you're coming from.
Absolutely. So that's how we work. I've had guys come in and throw up multiple, like not just, and real players I'm talking about, like real guys. This guy come in, works. So gain respect. And we start to build. We start to build a relationship, man. And I take him under my wing. And didn't have a great first year. Wasn't having a great second year. Got sent down to the G League pretty much to rot. Like, this is it, man. Like, it ain't working. Sent down to the G League bubble. And I tell him, go down there, be a pro, and work. And destroy the G League. Destroy the whole bubble. Should be the best player there. What does he go down there and do? Work. Struggling with a little maturity here and there, which is one of the reasons he's sent there.
Yeah.
But he working. Has some maturity issues every now and then. The whole time he in the G League bubble, Stephen A., I'm calling Chris Weems, who's the G League coach at the time. Weems, what's going on, man? How Jordan doing? 2-3 times a week. How Jordan doing? What's going on, Weems? What's up? Something go wrong, Weems hit me. Hey, man, you might need to talk to the young fella, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Check in with JP. Hey, man, what's up? What's going on? Whole time. Come back from the bubble. He finished that year strong. And we go to the play-in game. We lose the first play-in game. We lose the second play-in game. He coming back into that third year now. After finishing strong, Klay Thompson out still. He starts. Balls. Biggest supporter. Balls. Continues on. Finish the year, we win a championship. Couldn't be more happy for him. Dude, you about to get paid? You about to get paid and you was just in the G League a year ago, rotten. Everybody thought that was it for you.
Right.
You were sent away, and that was it. You just won a championship, and you about to get paid. I said all of that to say I raised him in this league. So one of the reasons that I say it's one of the biggest mistakes I ever made because I value the relationship. And what happened in an instant threw all of that out the window. So for the world to say, Draymond mad because he going to get paid and he not, man, I made $200 million. And I'm going to make more. And then when I'm done playing, I'm going to make more. Why would I be mad that a young guy that I took under my wing about to get paid? That's what this is about. Pete Myers, who was my assistant coach, you know Pete Myers, played with the Chicago Bulls
Yes,
for those that don't know, was my assistant coach as my first couple years in the league told me, Draymond, when you get paid in this league, you get paid to get the next young guy paid. And your only duty in this league is to leave the league better in a better place than it was when you found it. And you can ask any young guys in this league. I try to embody that, man. And so for the world to do something and put myself in a position to where people are going to say, I'm upset that this man about to get paid. And because of what I did, it actually gives that thing some legs and gives it some validation. That hurt me more than anything. And another thing that hurt me, and it still bothers me to this day, that kid got paid, and because of what happened, I couldn't even go celebrate him. That shit bothers me. Bothers me.
Draymond, you said that you fucked up. My question to you is this. Obviously, the Jordan Poole thing is an issue in terms of striking him the way that you did. But when you say it was the biggest fuck up of your life, of your career, are you talking about because of the effect it had on Jordan Poole, because of the effect it had on your image, your relationship with the Golden State Warriors, the public and the public's perception of you? What specifically are you alluding to when you say it was the biggest fuck up of your career or your life?
Well, all of those things you just mentioned, it affected every single one of them, plus more. It affected every single one. When you do something that can negatively affect all of those things you just named and more, I mean, that's a pretty big deal. You know, like even from the standpoint of like me doing my podcast, I did a podcast after the incident, and I hated, like I hated the way I sounded. Like I listened to it before it would have been, and like I didn't even like what was coming out of my mouth. Like one day down the road, when I feel like everybody's in just a much better place, I'm going to release that podcast episode just so everyone can hear how bad I sounded. And I hated it. And so now with that.
So you've never released it. So you've never released it.
I never released it. Never released the episode. Okay. And with that then coincided with my contract being up. So I took, while I was working on contract stuff, it was at the same time. I'm not sure I'm upset that the contract stuff wasn't. I'm not upset that the contract stuff was going on at that time. Not because I would have been scared to talk. I'm never afraid to talk. Not because I didn't know what to say, although when I heard myself speak, I kind of didn't know what to say. But because it gave me time to regroup. It gave me time to like just regroup myself, learn more about myself, dive deeper into like knowing myself and knowing like just different things and like being more in touch with my emotions and like how I'm feeling at any particular moment and expressing that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I'm one, I hope everybody think I'm just like, I'm gonna always say something. I'm always say something. I'm very calculated. And I only really say something if something is really, really, really bothering me. Other than that, I won't say a word. And so I allow stuff to build, and then just like,
Right.
and then it's like, uh-oh, what? Like that, well, that definitely wasn't the right thing to do. And so even further learning that, right? Like just getting more in tune and in touch with myself. I'm not sure and because I give a lot to it, as you know, like
Yeah.
I give a lot to that podcast. Like I'm sitting in this room,
Yes,
I'm
you do.
setting up, I'm doing this, I'm listening to the episode and saying, we need to change this. I take part in the social media thing. Like, no, we're not releasing that clip to draw people to the episode. They need to come listen, and if
Right.
they come listen, then they're gonna hear that. But we ain't leading out with that. That's like chasing contract. I'm involved in all of that stuff with my podcast, like, and so
Mm.
I give a lot of time to it. And not that, I couldn't speak because although, throughout the course of time, my point of view have grown. I wouldn't necessarily say change, but my point of view has grown. And so and being able to have that time to go through all of the stuff that I needed to go through because that was such a huge moment in my life. It was a bad moment, but it was a huge moment. And just to have that time to go through those things, it was very, very beneficial for me. Now, in saying all of that, all the things that you mentioned, it affected my family. People calling my wife. I mean, writing my wife and telling her like, "You better watch out. If he ain't already beating you, he gonna beat you." Like, I'm like,
Wow.
you took away from me getting into an altercation at work on the basketball court in a very high intense space that I'm now going to beat my wife, or like I know he's beating on you and your kids at home. Like that's what you took away from that. And then my daughter seeing it on YouTube, like, Daddy, my kids love Jordan, by the way, like always have.
Right.
They've always been like, because when Jordan first came in the league, rookie, he dancing, and so my oldest daughter, Olive, who's 8, she be like, "Oh, Jordan Poole, my favorite." She loved to dance. She's,
Mm.
"Mommy, look at Jordan Poole. He dance." Like my kids love Jordan Poole, and so then for my daughter to see that and be like,
Right.
"Daddy, why did you hit Jordan Poole?" Like she be on YouTube, right? It pops up on you. "Daddy, why did you hit Jordan Poole?" Having to answer that to my 8-year-old, my 5-year-old when I was 6. "Daddy, you hit somebody?" It affected so many people. My mom, my mom active on social media. My mom
I was,
had to get off social
I was going
media.
to ask about her. I was going to ask your mom.
Like,
Yeah.
she had to get off social media, right? Like, man, it affected so many people. Like, when stuff affect me, me, I'm gonna handle it. I'm gonna stand right in front of it. It ain't no big deal.
Right.
Even if it's a big deal, I'm good. I'm gonna get through it. But the amount of people that was affected by this, when you
Mm.
affect that many people, if that ain't one of the biggest things in your life, you're a fucking scumbag. Because to negatively affect that many people, it gotta be. It has to be.
You know what resonated with me? I spoke out because when Kevon Looney came in a press conference and alluded to how you needed to regain the trust of the team, that bothered me because I was like, Jordan Poole gets to say that, not somebody else. But then I thought about it and I said, okay, they're family and I get all of that. But what really resonated with me, I looked on the faces of a lot of these players as they looked at you, and they didn't seem to know what to feel. But obviously, the first person we all are going to look at is Steph Curry. When I looked at Steph Curry, I did not see a person that was upset at you or taking sides. I saw a guy that made me feel as if he had huge regrets himself, as if he could have done more to prevent what actually happened. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just talking about the look that I saw on his face whenever somebody would bring you up or mention it. When you looked at Steph Curry, it was like a cringe that came over his face, like, I should have done more, meaning him. I didn't understand that thinking because obviously he had nothing to do with it. But I asked that question because I want to know what you got from Steph Curry when that happened.
Steph and I have such an incredible relationship. It's a very funny relationship because he's like, it reminds me so much of my actual big brother, like my blood, my mother's son, who's 2 years older than me. He and Steph is actually right around the same age. He's a little bit old. He's a few months older than Steph. But it reminds me of our relationship, which is super tight, totally different. Totally different. And because we're so different, we totally respect and understand each other's differences and that we're not nothing the same, but we know that the love is there and the respect is there and we're super tight. Doesn't require us to hang out all day on the court, right? Like two totally different people. But yet we definitely have some similar interests and we share in those interests. We love wine. We'll drink wine together, but then we're also two totally different people. We enjoy two totally different. Steph enjoys golf and I hate golf. The only thing that make me enjoy golf nowadays is my son like it, so I'll go with him, right? Like, other than that, like that's a huge thing in Steph's life. Feel me? Like, we're two totally different individuals. One of the things that makes us so close is we actually understand that, and we respect it, we appreciate it, and I'm never gonna be like, "Yo, Steph, I'm about to go to the club. Like, you trying to go? Yo, come on, go to the club with me." Steph ain't gonna really go to the club. And if Steph ever go to the club once, he gonna be like, yo, hey, everybody, we're all gonna go to the club tonight. This is my one time I may go out. He ain't done that in like 3 or 4 years. But like that's what he used to. Right. And so two totally different people, but we respect, love, and understand that. What I saw in Steph when that happened, that's another one of the reasons I was really bothered. Is because what I saw in him is like he didn't know what to do. It's like he was confused, but hurt, disappointed. I wouldn't even say he was mad. It's almost like disappointed. Like, but then also, it's funny that you say, like, what I saw in him was like, what more could I have done? Because in the instant when it happened, the one person face I saw, and like the whole thing after all happened, was Steph's face. And the look on his face was almost like, how did I miss that almost? Like, just like he was like flabbergasted, just like, not even flabbergasted, like, I don't even know the word to describe his face. It was like I've never seen that look on his face before. But it was like I don't even know how to explain the look. But what I took away from the look was, when I say, how did I miss that? I don't trust many people. So if I'm personally going through something, I probably won't share it with most people. The one person I actually shared and spoke to about what I was going through was him. And I told him, like, yo, I'm not in a good space right now. Like, By the way, before that practice, like, you my guy too. And because you're so close to Steph, this is why I'm sharing this with you and on your platform. Because you got these relationships, I really wouldn't share this with anybody. But the person that I shared with, what I was going through, how I was feeling, like, was him. And we actually were talking through it a little bit, but practice was starting, so we didn't really get through it. Like, we're walking, stretching, and practice go. And the look that I saw on his face was almost like I didn't know it was there. Like,
Right.
almost like I missed the cry for help. Like, you were talking to me about something you were going through. And although I was present, right? Like, I was present, he was present as ever. It wasn't like he blew me off. Like, again, that relationship is so tight that he wouldn't blow me off for anything in the world. And so what I saw was like, how did I miss that? And that hurt me even more because that's what I saw. And it's like, I could tell how it hurt him in the moment, Like, like he was deeply bothered by the whole thing, not just the punch, but by like all of that. And just like, so then that bothered me even more because it was almost like, to me, like someone who really wanted to be there. And like I said, time just didn't really allow it in that moment, Like, it just didn't. Like, literally, we're talking about it and stretching and going through practice, and then practice go, and it's camp. Like, this ain't even. By the way, if we was doing that in practice now, we both probably would stand on the sideline and just stand there and talk. Because let's be honest, practice in the season is good for like sharpening up and stuff, but you ain't going hard. If you're a good team, you're not going hard in practice really during the season. Maybe once every blue moon if you have a few days off. And so if we were having that right now in practice, we probably would stand there the whole practice and talk. But because it's a preseason practice training camp, everything just like balls to the walls. And so you just going. And so stretching, and the moment practice take off, we just going. And then that's at almost the very end of practice. And so that's just kind of what I saw and felt, and it bothered me even more because like what his face was screaming and yelling to me, if he was talking, how when someone mad is talking and they don't even raise their voice, they're just very frank and like, I don't want to mess with this person. If he had have been yelling or speaking and saying something as firm as ever, or it wouldn't have been yelling. That's what his face was. Like, it would have been just like, wow. And it threw me all off.
Wow. Doesn't get much deeper than that. At least that's what one would think upon listening to what Draymond Green just said. But believe it or not, there's more. There's a whole lot more. Wait until you hear part 2. So here is part 2 of my interview with Golden State Warriors champion Draymond Green. How soon was it before you actually spoke to Jordan Poole? To his face, man to man.
To his face, I think I spoke to the team like a couple of days after, like either the next day or the day after. What's crazy is I told Steph and them right after it happened, like I was in the locker room and everybody came in there and like it was crazy. And I told him, like, I want to talk to the team. At that moment, I already knew I was wrong. And they were like, it just happened. We don't think if you said something to the team right now that they would believe it's true. And I said, if I'm going to say something, you better believe it's true, and that's how I feel. I'm not going to say anything for somebody to understand me, or like try to get somebody to see my point of view. No, I just have something I want to say real quick, and I'm out the way. But they were like, no, we don't think you should. And then I spoke to him, I think the next day maybe. And I said the same thing I felt I would have said the day before. And then I think he and I maybe talked like a few days after that. face to face a few days after that when he was ready to sit down and talk face to face. But like I told him,
Mm.
I'm not in a space or a position to tell you we should sit down and talk. But just know I want to talk to you whenever you're ready to have that conversation, because it's not up to me. Like, I did the bullshit. I can't decide, like, oh, now we got to talk. Like, I mean, that's just very narcissistic, stupid, and idiotic. And so I'm like, yo, like, I would love to talk to you. Like, whenever you're ready, whenever you want to talk, like, I want to talk to you. And I'm going to
And
keep
what did he
coming to you
say?
and trying
And
and
what did
check in. He didn't want to talk, and I understood that, and he didn't want to talk. And when he said
Right.
he didn't want to talk yet, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm going to keep coming to you and trying, and whenever you're ready to talk, we'll sit down and talk. But it's not on me to say, yo, let's go talk. Like, you
Right.
lose that privilege.
Well,
Like, I had that privilege in his life. Like, yo, I need to talk to you about something. I lost that privilege, and so it was no longer on me. We gonna sit down and talk.
right. But when I'm assuming y'all finally did, at some point he was ready to talk. When that happened, what did he say to you? If you can tell.
I won't share everything that he said, because I think that's very personal to him, and he should be able to tell his own story. Um, and so
I
I
understand.
won't tell his story. But what I will say is, I left that conversation even more bothered than I went into it. Like, I went into that conversation very bothered, um, and I left it even more bothered. I left the conversation more bothered because that dude trusted me. Like, that dude believed in me. That dude allowed me to guide him. And, like, if I felt nothing else if I felt nothing else in that in the conversation with him, if I felt nothing else, I felt his confusion. If I felt nothing else, right? Now, I felt remorse, hurt, bothered, like, you name it. But if I felt none of those things, what I 100% felt was his confusion. And to be quite honest with you, I understood it, because, man, Jerry Jack raised me up in this league. Jermaine O'Neal raised me up in this league. If they did that to me and I was his, like, what the hell would I think? Like, these dudes been showing me the rope.
Yeah.
They take me to dinner. They go somewhere. They take me with them. They teaching me the game. If one of them did that to me, what would I think? And so I had to like put myself in those shoes. Not that me and Jordan are the same. Not that we were react to anything the same. We're not. But what would I think? Like, where would my mind be if my OG did that to me? I may even be more understanding than Jordan was, although I think he handled it, man, as good as anybody could have handled it. Like, the embarrassment that he had to go through, staying professional, like, he handled it well, man. I applaud him for his maturity in the situation. He was way more mature in the situation than I was. But I just left there like, what if one of them did that to me? What would I be thinking? I think I'd be looking exactly how he was thinking. Like, what do you think?
Draymond Green, the 4-time champion for the Golden State Warriors, the leader, definitely the vocal leader of this team in a lot of people's eyes. How did it affect you as a leader of the team coming into this season, knowing what happened?
It affected me a lot because, number one, what you have to understand in something like that is how people hear your voice. So when you're speaking to someone, if you're speaking, you should always aim to understand how people hear your voice. And I am always very conscious and aware of how someone hears my voice, whether it's my team, whether it's my kids, whether it's my friends, whether it's the public. If I want something to come off a certain way, I'm going to say it a certain way. If I want something to come off a different way, I'm going to say it a different way. And so I'm always aware, or try to be aware. None of us can ever be so sure, but I always try to be aware of how people hear my voice. And because of that situation, in my own mind, I could be right, could be wrong. In my mind, the team wouldn't hear my voice the way they're supposed to hear my voice. I didn't think so. I didn't believe so. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Could be personal guilt because I do have some of that as well. So could be personal guilt. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, they're not really going to hear my voice the way they need to hear my voice. And so because they're not going to hear my voice, I'm just not going to say it. And so a lot of things that, I wouldn't allow to go on the team, or, a lot of things that I may correct, or I kind of just took a back seat for a majority of this season because of just being uncertain of how they're going to hear my voice.
As we sit here taping this podcast right now, y'all are a 500 team. If somebody said that's primarily because the Draymond Green has been the quintessential leader that we've known him to be throughout his career in Golden State, hasn't been able to be that guy this year because of what happened with the Jordan Poole situation, and that's why we sit here as a 500 club right now, what would you say to that? What would you
I
say
would
to
say
that
they're
assertion?
100% correct. I don't shy away from that at all, because when things are great and we win in championships, who gets credit for being the vocal leader and being the person behind it that's driving all of that from a leadership standpoint? You know who get that credit? Me. So you cannot take it when it ain't good. You can't say, oh, well, now that we 21-21, that ain't on me. But when we winning and it's going great, that's all me. No, sir. Can't do that. And so I would say from that standpoint, they're 100% correct. I would also say from a totally different standpoint, they're 100% correct, which is some of the slippage that we've had. Coach Curry is incredible. It's great. What Steve brought to us, teaching us how to truly be winners. Great. Steve's in series adjustments in the playoffs are insane. They're unbelievable, man. His in series adjustments, they're unbelievable. I've never seen him fail yet. Unbelievable, man. So I said all of that to say, Steve, there are certain things on a basketball team that a coach just won't be able to get across to a team. And it does not make that coach any less great than they are. There are certain things that has happened with this team that he hasn't been able to get across, and he won't be able to get across. And it does not minimize his greatness. But you go find me any great coach that won championships, and I'll show you the leader on that team that was standing, helping do that job on the floor, in the locker room, on the bus, when the coach not around. All of those things, I'll show you that guy on that team, because you have to have that, because a coach can't go on the floor. And so there's just certain things that happen on the floor that a coach won't be able to feel. You can only feel it if you're playing. And that's been my role here forever. That's been pretty much obsolete. That's a very big role. It's very important to winning. Most teams don't win because they don't have that. LeBron James has won so many times because he is that, right? Like Steph Curry is a version of that, but I'm the vocal side of it. Like Steph Curry going to come to us and say, yo, this is what we need to do, blah, 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 blah. I see this way, boom, right? And I'm going to be like in it, like, hey, man, like, what the hell we doing? Like all the other stuff,
Mm.
Like that's my role. And so, you look at, you can go down the list. Like Kyle Lowry when Toronto beat us, like you need that. And so we have not had that. And in large part due to me and not feeling that my voice will be heard the way it needs to be heard. And then also being like, and also being aware in the moment and understanding that you got to work back to that, man. Like, I don't feel like nothing is given, man. Respect is earned. And you did
Mm-hmm.
something to lose some respect. That's just point blank, period. Some people lost some respect for me, and you have to gain respect. I don't just think you get respect back like that just because you're ready or you want it. Like, no, you gotta go through steps to gain that respect back. And for me, I'd rather commit myself to going through the steps of gaining that back than just trying to talk and be like, oh man, like this is what needs to be done and blah, 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 because then you never get it back. And then you get a deaf ear and it's a wrap after that.
Well, I will say this to you. Uh, just a few more questions before I let you get on out of here. Thank you for all the time that you've given me, my brother. But I got to ask you this question because I'm thinking about you're entering a year where you can opt out of your contract. You're looking for a new long-term deal. When that first happened with you and Jordan Poole, there were people that speculated this might be it for Draymond because of Jordan Poole. But there were people before the Jordan Poole incident who were saying that might be it for Draymond because he's going to want a long-term extension. He believes he's worthy of a long-term extension. Most people think he deserves the long-term extension, but the Warriors and those luxury tax numbers got to be taken into consideration. When you take all of those things into account, Draymond, if you don't resurrect yourself to the leader that you once were prior to the Jordan Poole incident, one could argue that's not going to help your case to get in a long-term contract that you want and you richly deserve. What do you say to that? How do you manage your way through that? Because I know you want a new contract.
Stephen A., we have a very finite time to do what we're doing. I'm 32 years old. If I'm being honest, I don't want to play basketball until I'm 40. I really want to play basketball for another 4 years after this. I've always said my magic number is 15. Once I get to 15, that's it. I'm cool. Go enjoy my life. Go on to my next thing. Leave it to the young guys to take it from there. And like P. Meyer said, hopefully I left it in a better place than it was when I found it. I don't have interest in playing 20 years of NBA basketball. Just not what I yearn to do. Mm-hmm. I've been very fortunate and lucky and blessed to have the career that I've had, to have the opportunities that I've had to play in the best professional sports league in the world. But I understand that has an end date. And I personally can tell you that end, if it's up to me. I feel like over the last year or so, not even with the Jordan, just over the last, it's become more and more evident to me that 15 is the right number. Reason being, Stephen A., I've talked so much shit to so many guys on a basketball court. I can't be one of the guys lagging around at the end of my career, lagging, like, yo, I'm just out here collecting the check. I can't be that guy because everything that I've dished out is going to come right back. And so I don't want to be one of those guys that's like just still around. And I feel like I know for sure I got 4 great years left in this body. Like, I know that for certain. I can feel it in my, like, I know how I feel. And so I'm like, I got four great years left. And for me, I've always been very good at if I set this goal, I'm going to do everything that I have to do and that I know I can do to get to that goal. And so for me, setting that end date is beautiful because I'm like, oh, I got 4 more summers of working like this. Let me kill myself these 4 summers for working like this. And once I get to 15, that's it. I'm getting to that goal. I'm done. And so I said all of that to say, of course, I want to get another long-term contract. That takes me right to the end of my career. Thank you so much, Adam Silver, Michael Levine, Joe Dumars, Mark Tatum, Joe Lacob, Peter Guber, Bob Myers, Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. It has been an incredible run. The city of San Francisco, Oakland, the town, took me in as their own. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing run. Maybe you do feel like I can still play some more after seeing me in year 15. It's been great. I thank you. I'm still here. I'm a warrior for life, but my time here is done. My time is done. And so I want that contract. And if someone said to me that that's going to affect that contract, I would say you're possibly right. And that's what I have to live with. But I still got to stay due to my process, work through my process of gaining that back, not just jumping back in it because I'm taking advantage of an opportunity and saying, oh, well, the team needed, so I can just jump back in. No, you got to earn that, champ.
Let me throw a different scenario by you, Draymond. Suppose they over the Jordan Poole joint, the Jordan Poole deal. And that's passed. And they've moved forward. But they say, Draymond, you're not what you used to be. And we don't trust that this investment that you want from us is worth it for us to invest in you for the next 4 years. If the Golden State Warriors were to say that about you, how would that make you feel? Where would you want to go if you couldn't play in a Golden State uniform with your brothers, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, unquestionably the greatest shooting backcourt in the history of basketball?
How would that make me feel? I'd be salty and hurt because I've been here 11 years. Like I don't know anything outside of the state of Michigan. Growing up in Saginaw for 18 years, 4 years at Michigan State, went straight to the Bay Area. I don't know anything outside of that. I've traveled. I've, got a home, another place, but I don't know anything as far as my livelihood goes outside of those 3 places. I'd be a fool if I didn't want to stay here for the next 4 years and finish this the way we started. Because I know we still going to win. Like, I know that. Like, I know we still going to win. So I'd be a fool to just be like, yeah, nah, that ain't it. Like, no. No, you don't just, when you have one of my OGs used to tell me, if you go somewhere and you catch a great vibe, or a good vibe, don't leave that vibe chasing a better vibe. So you're going to go to this spot, y'all dancing, you caught a vibe, y'all kicking it in there, it's a good time. And then you're like, oh, this other spot going on, now I'm going to go over there. Man, 19 of the 20 times you do that, the first spot that you caught the vibe at going to outlive that second spot. So what do I mean by that? Man, it's been so great here. The things that we've accomplished together, it's been absolutely amazing. Not only myself, Steph, Klay, Andre, not only us as players, but Steve Kerr as a first-time coach, Bob Myers as a first-time GM, Peter Guber and Joe Lacob as new owners when we all came in. Steph Curry, they bought the team right a year after he was drafted. Klay Thompson, the year he was drafted. They had the team a year before I was drafted. We all did this together. Like, we all have grown to who we've become together. Joe didn't make the Golden State Warriors the Golden State Warriors. Peter didn't make the Golden State Warriors without us doing what we're doing. We weren't able to do what we do without them being an incredible ownership group and giving us the resources we needed. Bob Myers being the mastermind that he is and putting the pieces around us to amplify what we're great at. And then Steve Kerr being the mastermind and the winner that he is. Let's forget some X's and O's. There's a lot of coaches good at X's and O's, but ain't many winners in NBA history like Steve Kerr. Him being that and who
question.
he is,
without question,
and being who he is, and then winning more championships as a coach. Like, we all have grown into who we've become all together. I'd be a fool to say, oh man, I just want to leave that. I don't. Like, that's crazy. We built this thing together. Want to end it that way.
But if they want you to leave,
but
if they want you to leave by virtue of not wanting to pay you,
I do understand the business. I do understand that we got a luxury tax bill bigger than any team in NBA history. I do understand that. I do understand where we are as far as the rosters goes. We got our experienced guys. We got young guys. I understand all of those things. I study this business. No disrespect to CJ McCollum. I'm just using this as an analogy. Sure. I study this business more than CJ McCollum. He's the president of the NBA Players Association. Probably that could not be true, but you get my point. It's like, it's his role to the players to study this and do this and being all the time to make sure the players get the best, what they need, the best deal, blah, blah, blah. That's his job. I study this like that because I want to know the business that I'm in. So I understand all of that stuff, Stephen A. And I understand that the decision of keeping me may come down to more than just if they want me there or not. It may come down to money, right? But what I do know is this. If someone wants you bad enough, if someone feel you're valuable enough, they're going to do what they have to do to make that work. And so for me, I would say if they said, well, I don't think you can get back to that, I would say, have I ever not got back to that? Have trusted me this long? Has it been beneficial for you? So you probably want to bet on what you know. That I get back to that. You know that that's who I am. You know that's who I enjoy being. You should probably trust in what you know. That's what I would say back. But also, like I said, understanding that there's a business side to this that could, I don't know, it's not me writing a check, that could outweigh all of that. I don't know.
Got a few rapid fire questions to throw at you before I let you get on out of here. I can't imagine there's a person alive that loves or wants to play with Steph Curry more than you. Nobody has a greater appreciation for the greatness of Steph Curry than you. If you were not playing with Steph Curry, who's the one player in the NBA that you'd want to be a teammate of?
If I wasn't playing with Steph Curry, the one person that I would want to be a teammate of, man, is this going to get me fined for tampering? They got me once, Stephen A.
I don't know. I don't know. What? Well, don't answer it then, because I don't want to take no money out your pocket. I don't want to take no money out your pocket. Forget that question.
Get me fined. People say stuff like that all the time, but I got dinged once, man. They hit me for $50K, Stephen A.
No. Don't answer it then. Don't answer it.
That added to my over million. That added to over my $1 million in fines in my NBA career, man.
Oh my goodness. The top 5 basketball IQs in the NBA in your estimation.
LeBron James, Chris Paul, myself, Luka, Joker.
Okay. And Jokic. Okay.
I also have to put in that mix, though. I also have to put in Marcus Smart as hell, too, man. Marcus Smart, he live up to that. Marcus Smart as hell. He's super smart. Like, I enjoy playing against him. And there's one other guy that's on his way, but he has to make sure his athleticism don't move him away from that. And I'm starting to see a little bit of that, and I hope it's not the case, because early on, he was very on his way to that, and that's Ja Morant. Like,
okay.
I hope he don't fall so deep into the love of the athleticism. Like, you could tell that you could tell T really taught Ja the game. Like coming into the league, I'm playing against Ja, and like he making plays and I'm doing stuff. And I realized, like, yo, I think this dude out here playing chess with me, man. Like, I'm doing this, he do that. Like, then I call this, he call a set, and I'm like, I think this dude out here playing chess with me and keep playing against him. And I'm like, oh yeah, he out here playing chess, man. He got it up there. And everyone has fallen so in love with his athleticism that I hope he don't take that and just go try to be athletic all the time. Like, nah, man, you smart and with that athleticism. So him and Marcus Smart will be in there, somewhere. But those five
Ja
has proven
Morant,
it.
Ja Morant, Marcus Smart, Luka, you, LeBron, Chris Paul, and Jokic. That's the names that I got.
Yeah.
Favorite season from your Warriors dynasty run?
Favorite season from my Warriors dynasty run was my favorite season was 2017. 2015 was incredible.
Kevin Durant's first year?
Yes, because the reason that was my favorite season was because it started off a little shaky. Like we had to figure it out. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like, it wasn't dialed. And so it started off and we had to figure some stuff out. And at the beginning, once we figured it out, Christmas Day, and then we played the Cavs and we lost. And after that, we figured it out. It was just a matter of time. Counting down the dates of the date to the date that we can win a championship. Not like, oh man, I wonder who we're gonna play or we may. No, we were just counting down to the date that we can win. It was January 9th. We were counting down to the date. We knew we were winning a championship. And I think we ended up going 5 that year with Cleveland, but that was my favorite year.
LeBron James arrived in Miami, and his first time in Miami during that when D Wade and Bosh were on stage, he said not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven. If you take Kevin Durant in the years that he's been gone from you guys to Brooklyn, I think this would mark the 7th season. He would have been in Golden State had he elected to stay. How many championships would y'all have won with Kevin Durant?
Well, in total for us, at least 6. I mean, at least 5, possibly 6. The reason I say that is because we would have lost in 2019. Him and Clay got hurt. Kevin comes back. If Kevin comes back that following year, like I think Kevin was ready to go in like January or February that year. Kevin comes back that following year, but Clay's still out, So like we could possibly win with Clay still out, maybe, but it's hard to win without Clay. It's real hard to win without Clay. What Clay brings to the team, it's really hard to win without Clay. But say if we possibly pulled it off, then that will possibly make 6, but for sure 5.
2016, I often bring this up. The NBA gave the Cavaliers a stimulus package when you got suspended for Game 5. I had picked y'all to win in 5. I said y'all going to win Game 4 in Cleveland, which y'all did. You're going to come back, you're going to close them out in 5. But you got suspended in that game because you and LeBron got into a tussle in Game 4. You got suspended the following game, and obviously Bogut and Iguodala got hurt in that Game 5, and then Cleveland came back from a 3-1 deficit and won Games 5, 6, and 7, obviously. If you don't get ejected or suspended for Game 5, does LeBron James have 4 championships on his resume or 3?
No chance. They weren't beating us. Just like they never beat us again.
Okay.
There were no chance they would beat us. They were done in 5. They were totally done. We would have wiped them, and I would have won Finals MVP. But it happened, and they won it. So kudos to them. But no chance. They weren't beating us. No way they were beating us. They were toast.
Of course they was toast. Of course they was toast. I don't care what anybody said. I've been saying that for years. It was absolute toast. Last question.
Toast.
Number 1 rule change you would make in the league if you could, either on or off the court. what would that rule change be, Draymond Green?
The number one rule change that I would make, whew, that's a tough one because I get one. Whew. I think the number one rule
You want
change,
more than one.
the number one rule change that I'll make, the number one rule change that I would make would be an off the court thing. Because
Okay.
I can't, it's hard for me to pick one on the court because that's singling out one issue and there's a few or 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The one rule that I would change would be when guys get technical fouls or suspensions or fines, that it wouldn't be heard by essentially the same person that gave it to you. So like, if I get a tech, my appeal is going to the league who employs like the refs. Like, it's like, and so
yeah,
like to expect that they're going to take our side, like you have to be so blatantly clear that you didn't deserve a tech to like, or it's pretty much just the word of the referee. And they're human beings. Like when you're a human being, you have personal feelings towards people. Like they may be good, may be bad, but you have them. And I think for me as a player, like the one thing that I do understand with referees is like, no, they do have personal feelings towards people. And they're human beings. How do you expect them not to? And so in understanding all of that, like I get that. But your appeal, like our appeals wouldn't just like, if I get suspended or fined, like then it's just the same process for the appeal. And I think to me, that's one that I would change. Because I think, like I said, I've been fined over $1 million. So that, that's a big one. That's a big one for me. Like, Stephen A., I got fined a whole game check. Like a game check, which was at that time probably was like almost $200,000 for missing Game 5 of the NBA Finals. But I don't get paid to play in the NBA Finals. Like I get like a $200,000 bonus if we win the championship. But I lost a game check for a game that being suspended for a game that I'm technically not even able to play, like not even paid to play in.
Yeah. Right.
Like, but I can't call them and say, y'all just took $200,000 away from me for a game that I'm not even paid to play in. It's not like it's a regular season game where I'm actually paid 1/90th at the time to like play it. I'm not paid to play in this game. I'm gonna lose a check for not being in it. There's guys that have been at home for 2.5 months.
Well, what about people say that's an incentive to keep you cool? What do you say to that?
I mean, clearly, I didn't think I deserved suspension anyway. I didn't even make contact, and I got upgraded to a flagrant foul. Like
I totally agree with you.
Foul and
you got thrown to the floor by LeBron.
Yeah,
you got slammed to the floor by LeBron. I didn't feel you deserved that either. I didn't.
Right.
Now I can't defend you with Steven Adams. Now I can't defend you kicking up your leg. I can't defend that.
That leg still goes in the air. He just don't happen to be over me. But that's just my anatomy. That leg still goes up in there. But no problem. But yeah, it's like,
I'm just saying as a man. I'm just saying as a man, a cardinal rule: don't even go in that area. Don't even go in that
respect
area.
It. I respect it. But also check this out, Stephen A. I got dinged for Steven Adams because of the first one that happened when I was just going up for a layup, and when you jump off your left leg, your right knee is going to go up on a layup, and he was over me. So then they're like, "Oh, that's one. Now this is two." No, it's not. But I take that on the chin. It is what it is. I live with it, whatever. But that's what I would change. Just like that process would be different because that process has cost me over $1 million. Woo, what can I do with that $1 million, Stephen A.?
That's right. Very, very, very last question. You say you ain't concerned about anybody in the West. Denver, Memphis, New Orleans seem to me to be viable reasons to be concerned, especially if you still trying to get back to yourself pre-Jordan Poole stuff. What do you say to that? You still not worried about anybody in the West?
No, because worried about somebody in the West would mean like we get to our best, which I know we will, that they can beat us at our best. And I don't think anybody can beat us at our best. Like, so I still feel like it's up to us. Like, it's on us. And it being on us, like, doesn't make them worry me. Because if we can't figure what we need to figure out, like, they're least important. Like, you have to figure out what you need to figure out to win a championship, not figure the other team out first. You got to have yourself figured out. So I know that if we figure out the things that we need to figure out, they're not going to beat us at our best. Now, the Denver Nuggets look real, though. Adding KCP.
Very real.
Very, very underrated move.
Very real.
Like, very underrated move. Jamal Murray coming back into the fold.
Yes.
Like, that changes things. Joker being Joker, obviously. But Aaron Gordon has been a totally different player since those playoffs last year. Totally different player this year. Now, you still got to do that in the playoffs, but I think Aaron, like a mixture of that, like KCP, Jamal coming back, but Aaron Gordon has changed that team. So they look real, but I still don't pick nobody to beat us.
I got you. Draymond, man, real conversation, man. I really appreciate this, man. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for being a part of No Mercy. Thank you for opening up the way that you did. Really, really appreciate it. And I hope that, and I know that a lot of people are going to learn a lot more from you based on this conversation, my man. I appreciate you, and I wish you good luck as the season progresses. You know I'll see you soon. You know that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you, my brother. Like I said, you know me, I'm never afraid to give guys their flowers when they do. You, my man, you need to put a GOAT right next to your K. That's what you are, my brother. And I appreciate you. Everything you do, from your mentorship to your brotherhood to even just being a friend. I can't thank you enough, bro.
Absolutely. My pleasure, my man. We'll talk soon, my man. I'll see you real soon. You take care of yourself, all right?
No doubt. You too.
I really need not say any more. I'm just proud of the brother for standing up and owning what he did. I understand that he didn't have much of a choice, but you got a choice to acknowledge what you did. You don't have an obligation to feel the level of contrition, empathy, and accountability for yourself that he has clearly been willing to accept. Here's the reality of the situation. The Golden State Warriors don't have a snowball's chance in hell of repeating the champions if Draymond Green doesn't become the leader he once was. And he's got no chance in hell of getting the lengthy contract he's coveting if he doesn't resemble the player that he once was in helping lead the Golden State Warriors to championships. In order for him to accomplish those goals, he's going to have to shove aside the obvious guilt that he feels and not be hesitant or reluctant in any way to express himself and to be the leader we all know him to be. That's what the Golden State Warriors need in order for him and the Warriors to be successful. The beauty is, I think he knows it. And I think as the season progresses, we'll see a better version of Draymond Green and the Golden State Warriors than what we've seen the first 3 to 4 months of this season. We shall see. But I will say this. You'll never see me rooting against him. I can tell you that much. I'm proud of the brother. I really am. Not for what he did, but for how he's owned it. I think he's a better person, better man, better professional because of it. Let's hope the same could be said for the Warriors. We'll see.